Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zack, and today I am driving a 2001 Ford Ranger. Up front is a 2.5 liter inline 4, and down below is a 5-speed manual transmission. Now, I am super excited to be driving this Ford Ranger for one reason. Well, actually, okay, kind of two reasons. The main reason is the fact that this is a base model, so much so that it actually doesn't even have air conditioning. And it's hard to find trucks like this. Normally, if you're going to spend the money on the truck, you normally get a couple of bells and whistles, but this got nothing. The second reason is the fact that even for it being a base model, it's extremely clean and well kept. It only has 87,000 miles on it. It is pretty much rust-free, and a prime example of what the base model looked like 24 years ago. But if you would like to submit your own vehicle and have it reviewed here on the channel just like this Ford Ranger, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. It takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. And if you would like to see all of my reviews weeks or sometimes even months earlier, as well as some end-of-the-month recaps, you can head on over to my Patreon. For only $5 a month, you get early access to my reviews and audio recaps. But let's get back to that 2.5 liter inline 4. Well, it makes about 119 horsepower, and it's the furthest thing from special. This engine was actually offered in one form or another from the Ford Motor Company since 1970. Now, of course, it was updated and upgraded over the years, and was actually found in like the Pinto in its conception, but it was punched out a little bit to a 2.5 liter, and that's what's under the hood. It's simple, it's basic and reliable, and they used it here in the Ranger actually for a very short time, only from 1998 until early 2001, which is what this truck is. They didn't even use it the full model year of 2001, so very, very interesting to see that. Like I said, paired to it is a 5-speed manual transmission. Nothing crazy, interesting, or important there. That was the basic transmission, so that's what we get. Last but not least, this particular Ford Ranger is rear-wheel drive. However, you could have found them in 4-wheel drive of the era, but of course this did not have that option because it would have cost more. How does it feel to drive the Ford Ranger? Well, it's very, very basic, and you would think that a 2000s vehicle would feel like our modern trucks, but it's actually far from the truth. Although it's the similar size to the modern Ford Maverick, it couldn't drive any differently. This drives like an old school pickup truck. The shifter is kind of unforgiving. The clutch is very straightforward. The throttle is demanding for any type of driving. Visibility, though, like an old car, is very, very good. Steering is nimble because it's small, and I like that. If you want something that feels like it's from the 80s but isn't as old, well, this generation of Ford Ranger has you covered. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior, although we don't have all that much to talk about. Well, in front of me, I have 6 gauges. Off to the left is my fuel, coolant temperature, and tachometer, and off to the right is the speedometer, oil pressure, and battery voltage. Everything you need, and nothing that you don't. On the steering wheel, I don't have anything. I have a horn and an airbag because they're legally required, but that's it. Off to the left, we do have a climate control vent, headlight switches, and our gauge dimmer switch. And moving on to the door, we have the manual crank for the windows. The mirrors don't even have interior adjustments, so if you want to adjust your mirrors, well, you got to get out and do it. Moving into the center, we have 2 climate vents and our radio. We get 4 favorites, AM and FM, but that's it. No CD, no cassette player, no aux input. Nothing of that sort. And down below, we have our heater controls, because like I said, this is a non-AC truck. If you look under the hood, there's a giant hole where the AC compressor would be, but it didn't have that. So that's why we have no AC. Down below, we have an airbag on and off switch back when that was a thing in the late 90s, early 2000s. The Ram trucks also had a similar system. And the shifter. Now, I do have cup holders around the outside of the shifter. I'm not 100% sure if these are factory or not. We will do a big ring and bottle test, and it does fail, mostly because the bottle is too tall. I also did remove the inserts, and the bottle still doesn't fit properly. So at the end of the day, it is a fail, but again, I'm not totally sure that these are even factory. But the shifter is tall and mighty, but it is very economy feeling. The boot is this rubbery flimsiness that was seen on vehicles like Geo Metros and the Toyota Tercel. The shift knob is nondescript. It could have been out of something like this. It could have been out of a 1995 OBS Ford. Who knows? Run of the mill. The seats are decently comfortable, and they are this sort of leather material, but they're very nondescript. They don't have much shape to them, and they're not wowing anyone. As a matter of fact, they're not even expressive in any sort of way. They're just seats, because you need seats to sit in a vehicle. That's the only reason that they're here. However, we don't have any back seats, but we will hop around the back and talk about the bed. All right, around the back of the 01 Ford Ranger, and as you can see, it doesn't look like the bed has gone through a single day's work, which is actually pretty good in this case because that's what kept this truck so well kept. Look, there's no deep gashes or scars in the bed liner, which this is a drop-in bed liner, which I guess that might have been an option. Pull the tailgate down here, and it's really, really simple. As I mentioned with the driving feel of the truck, this is a 1980s truck, not built in the 1980s. Straightforward cables on either side to hold the tailgate. No 18-way speaker-filled, light-abundant tailgate here. It just goes up and down. It's not complicated like modern trucks. No outlet in the back like modern trucks. No LED lights to blind the neighbors 2 towns over like modern trucks. Just simple, straightforward, and that's what made the Ranger so good. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and I've always really liked this generation of the Ford Ranger. I think it is simplistic. I think it is an evolution of the 80s and early 90s Ranger. You can see those familiar attributes visually that we're used to from the older trucks, but I think done in a more modern way. This truck sits a little bit taller, has a little bit more haunch shoulders, that sort of thing. I think it did fit really, really well in with the traffic of that era, and I like seeing that. And I think it aged really well. Again, being 24 years old, I don't think that this is a horrendously outdated truck, at least in terms of looks, and that's a good thing. With all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving this Ford Ranger? Well, if you take anything away from this video, I just wanted to show off and showcase a very well-kept example. This will probably be the nicest, cleanest, most well-kept Ford Ranger from this era that I'll ever drive, and so I'm doing my due diligence to try to capture as much HD footage of it as I can before these start to leave our roads. And I think that's the beauty of this truck, is how simple it is, because it's easy to go review the V6 version, the Edge trim level, the FX4s that I've driven. Those were probably saved a little bit more. Those probably didn't see as many job sites or things like that. This is the Ford Ranger boiled down to a single trim. This is everything that made it good. This was the genesis of it all. Trucks like this, trucks that shared this assembly line in this format, were sent out to job sites. They were used and abused. They were ridden hard and put away wet because they were work trucks. This was the most affordable way to get a truck like this. Now, I'll put up on the screen what these MSRP'd for in 2001. I don't have the specific window sticker for this particular truck, so that's why I didn't put it at the beginning of the video, but just to get an idea, that's what one of these would set you back, with no options at all. And so these were used for courier services or small businesses and things like that. What the Maverick is now doing for today's market, the Ranger did in the early 2000s. And so if someone bought one of these as their personal vehicle, odds are they would have given it AC. They would have given it the nicer seats, the nicer stereo, 4-wheel drive, and probably the larger motor. But that's just it. This didn't get that. And so it has a personality all its own because of that. This was a tool, a useful tool, and I'm so thankful that I was able to show you guys such a clean example of what it was like 24 years ago. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Robs for letting me take out his Ford Ranger and showing you guys what a pristine example. Robs has been absolutely awesome to work with. I totally blew it and forgot to respond to his message after we set up a day. So I emailed him last night like, hey, can we actually still do that? And he was able to fit me into a schedule. I totally blew it, but Robs made it better. He excused my mistake and we were able to get this video done. So huge thank you to him and his flexibility. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.